Hey friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. And today it's all about the Vienna Acoustics Haydn Jubilee stand mount speaker. Now the thing that jumped out at me was that I thought, this speaker startled me a couple of times right there in the early days with it, because it just has amazing jump factor. It's not a horn speaker. It's not that kind of dynamic kick. But it does have this ability to surprise you. It can sound so present and so right there. It has that right there, right now quality that's, you go, really, wow, I wasn't expecting that. But it can do it, definitely. It's interesting that it's this celebration. It's the celebration of their 30th anniversary, which was last year in 2019, but still, well, almost 2 years ago now, right? But in any case, it's the most affordable speaker Vienna Acoustics currently makes. And that's a nice contrast to making, an exotic speaker that's out of reach for most people. Here's the way in that won't, break the bank. As you might have surmised at this point, that Vienna Acoustics is based in Vienna, in Austria. And in fact, they make their speakers there. Now, some of the parts are made in-house at that factory, and some of them are sourced from European vendors. So let's take a closer look. Well, as you can plainly see, it's a stand mount speaker, small two-way, 1-inch soft dome tweeter, but the mid-woofer is a bit unusual. First of all, it's 5.5-inch, designed by Vienna Acoustics. It is a proprietary design. Now, the cone material is transparent. You can see right through it to the spider that's directly behind the cone of any mid-woofer or woofer, right? But this one, you can actually see the spider back there. That's kind of cool. But they put a lot of work into developing this material, which is called X3P. That's the cone material. What else? Well, the crossover is made up of hand-selected parts, meaning in this case that the capacitors and the resistors are, each one is checked for tolerance, very tight tolerances. Round back, there is a port. And unlike most ports that I see on speakers nowadays, the lip of the port isn't flared. It has a hard edge, which I always thought was a major no-no, that the ports had to be flared, otherwise there'd be more port noise, like port noise complaints, so to speak, right? More port noise, chuffing, huffing, and puffing, and chuffing noises. But no, I put low frequency tones through the speaker. I was sliding them up and down. I was trying to make the speaker port misbehave, and I heard no misbehavior. No, it's clean as a whistle. Two more specs. It's a 6 ohm speaker, and the sensitivity is 88 dB for 1 watt in. Speaking of clean, the finish, well, the speaker only comes in piano black. I mean, piano black is a pretty common finish, right? But this piano black really feels and looks like piano black. It's gorgeous. It's lacquer, impeccably finished. The cabinet feels very solid. It's just a beautifully crafted speaker. It feels like quality. Round back, there's that port I forgot to mention. There are really nicely done binding posts. And the binding posts are also pretty snazzy gold posts. Oh, before I forget to mention it, I will do a comparison with the KEF LS50 Meta. I love that speaker, and it's about the same price. Oh, did I mention the price? I did mention the price of the Jubilee. The Jubilee is $1,595 a pair. The KEF Meta that I'm going to compare it against is $1,495 a pair. So it's sort of on the same page kind of comparison. It's also about the same size. Oh, I should point out that Vienna also makes another model Haydn speaker. It's called the Grand Symphony. When you look at it in pictures, it looks like it's about the same size as the Jubilee, but it's not. It's actually a few inches taller. It's also more expensive. It's $2,495 a pair. And to tell you the truth, I'm so impressed with the Jubilee. I wonder, like, how much better can the Grand Symphony be? Well, maybe we'll do. Maybe I'm going to explore more from Vienna Acoustics in 2021. But Anyway, I didn't want there to be any confusion as to which Haydn speaker I'm reviewing. I'm reviewing the Baby Brother, the Anniversary Edition, and then there's this larger one, the Grand Symphony. For electronics, I used a few different options here. I started with the Leek Stereo 130 integrated amplifier. That's $11.95. Nice pairing. But I stepped up the sound by adding the Schitt Agir power amplifier. It's $7.99. It's a 20-watt Class A-ish amplifier. That was even better. I also used, in my main system, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll link to my entire system directly below in the description. But the main amplifiers I used, other than the ones I just said, are the new Wat F8, which there's a review coming up on that shortly, and also the past Labs XA100.5. But the main takeaway, the best way to describe the sound of this speaker is tone. It sounds tonally correct, meaning voices sound like voices, they sound human. Pianos sound like big instruments with vibrating strings inside. Guitars, flutes, drums, they sound natural. Not hi-fi-ish, not like oozing transparency. No, more just a more relaxed version of that. That's not the right word, not relaxed, but just like it's a sound that doesn't call attention to itself. It just sets the music free. You know, as I was getting to know the speaker, I kept thinking, for some reason, I kept thinking LS35A, the BBC monitor style speaker. And it does, I don't have one here to compare against. I haven't had one in this room in decades, but I kept thinking LS35A. But this speaker has more oomph to it. The bottom end is very satisfying for such a small speaker, but it's that tone quality. Maybe that's what made me think of LS35As. I said earlier that I'm going to be rearranging this room soon, and it will be more friendly to LS35A speakers. So I hope in 2021 to review one of the many versions of LS35A type speakers that are out there in 2021. The first recording I used was the new Nick Cave album. It's called Idiot Prayer. It's a solo recording. It's Nick alone in a concert venue with a grand piano. But the recording starts, the very first track is just his voice. He's reciting, I guess, a poem. And his voice is deep. He's got the serious voice. But it's the way he's just so emotionally charged and vulnerable and just present was really extraordinary. I'm listening to this thing thinking, yes, I am totally in. Just a gorgeous recording. And then all the other tracks is a lot, 16, 18 tracks. And he plays piano. And the sound of the piano and the dynamics of the piano and the dynamics of the voice were really impressive. That's where the startle effect comes from, right? It can just jump and just grab you by the throat kind of sound. And yes. So I was in. I was very involved in listening to music over the Jubilee. So then I moved the Jubilees aside, hooked up the KEF LS50 Meta. That's the new version of the LS50, which I reviewed and I will link to below in case you missed that. But anyway, the KEF, well, is a more transparent speaker. That was obvious from the get-go. No question about it. It was more transparent, more present. I heard more of the ambiance of the space that Nick was performing in. That much was clear. But on the other hand, the Jubilee's tone, that 80 to 150 hertz fullness that the Jubilee has, was not quite as full over the KEF, and I missed it. I wanted some of that round quality, that satisfying fullness that the LS50 didn't quite match. Not bad, not lacking, not a thin-sounding speaker, but didn't have what the Jubilee had in that area. Let's put it that way. So another piano recording I used for this was Nils Fruhm's solo album. And he has I forget the story exactly, but he's got this incredible piano, and I think it's mic'd from the inside of the piano. So all the piano action, all the movement and stuff is very audible. The mechanicalness of the piano is enhanced in this recording. It's very deep. The low register of the piano is shockingly deep. And yeah, the Jubilee had that weight and the dynamic impact. Now he's not banging away on the keys, it's more subtle than that. But that's what just made it more like a sort of a lean-in type sound coming from the Jubilee. Switching over to the LS50 Meta, there was more of this, more transparency, more inner detail, and the subtle dynamic shifts were easier to hear over the LS50. For contrast, I pulled out this LP, Morricone Fistful of Dollars. This is it's a soundtrack recording. It is so frenetic and alive, and those horns, those screaming horns, ferocious strings, intense percussion, and then also space and openness. Really, really incredible stuff. And the Jubilee was no slouch. It was giving it to me. I wasn't asking for more. I know what this record has in it, or on it, and I wasn't missing. I mean, it wasn't everything I've ever heard from this record, but it was enough to make me sit up straight in my chair and pay attention, because it's a great recording. This record, Shelly Manne, Andre Previn, My Fair Lady, it's on Contemporary. Now, if you've never heard of Contemporary, it's a jazz label, West Coast jazz label. They made incredible sounding recordings, miles ahead, pardon the pun, miles ahead of Blue Note or Impulse or any of the famous jazz labels. Contemporary, to me, at least for me, my rating book is ahead of them all in terms of sound quality. It's basically an audiophile sounding label, except this is from the 60s. Yeah, I guess the 50s or early 60s. Great sound. And but this album in particular, forget about the audiophile aspect of it, it's just got bounce to it. It swings, it grooves, it just keeps pushing forward, and you just are in it. If you're not in it when you're listening to this record, there's something wrong with the system, because it's just got it. Now I assume you can listen to it on Spotify or Qobuz or Tidal or something. You got to check this one out. Really incredible. And the little Jubilee was rocking its little heart out with this album, so it's not afraid to boogie. For boogieing, for actual rock music, well, yeah, I played some of the other rock-oriented Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds albums, and these little guys can kick butt with conviction. They're not afraid to play surprisingly loud for their size. And this theme keeps repeating. I keep finding little speakers like the B&W 607 S2 Anniversary Edition, another small speaker, much less expensive than this one, but that little guy, the 607 S2, it can kick butt. It's actually a little, yeah, it's smaller than the Jubilee. So size is mattering a little less lately in terms of making small speakers that can rock out a bit. So don't judge too quickly, assuming you get to hear them, which is a theme for another video. But I wish you guys could hear these things before you buy them. That would be the best. And I'm sad that there are fewer and fewer places, brick and mortar stores, where people can go and hear them. But if you are lucky enough to get to hear speakers or electronics or anything before you buy it, oh, please, please, please support your local brick and mortar dealer. I have said my piece. I've said everything I am going to say, I intended to say, and even things I didn't intend to say about the Vienna Acoustics Jubilee. So my work here is pretty much complete, other than to say, my name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I do, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you have already subscribed, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. But you should also check out the Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac, and I will link to that below. But wait, there's more. There are playlists here. There's playlists for many, many, many more speaker reviews and electronics reviews and headphone reviews and, of course, music reviews. but also interviews. Now, I always tell you, oh, there's interviews with Nelson Pass and Andrew. You know what? There's interviews with audiophiles, sister and brother audiophiles, right here on the Audiophiliac Daily Show. Like, take Joe the cop. Joe, what a character. He lives not far from me in Brooklyn. He's a retired police officer. He built his own horn system, a huge horn system, very elaborate. He built the room that the speakers are in, the acoustic treatments. The attention to detail that this man put into the system is staggering. He was also at the time, because it's over a year ago, he was designing his own turntable. He has his own machine shop in the basement. It's incredible. Well worth your time to watch those videos. There's 2 of them with Joe. You should watch the video with Jana Dedegan, formerly from Stereophile, now a freelance videographer. But anyway, lots to see and hear on the channel. So again, thank you so much for being here. And I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.